Welcome to the What's Next podcast. On today's episode, Brian and I sit down with our friend Cavell Johnson, and we chat in depth about his journey playing NCAA basketball to playing at the pro level, and then what brought him to Canada, where now he resides. We openly discuss the difficult times he had to endure on this journey. And then we ask the final question, what's next? So if you're ready, buckle up, and let's go.
Welcome to the What's Next podcast. I'm here with my, I guess, good friend. I guess I could continue.
We're getting warmed up. We're warming up to one another,
right? Yeah, it's sort of on-off again relationship, good, bad.
We still don't drive in here together because
no, that's not going to work.
My name's Mike Hectus, and my good buddy Brian Stevens. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, sir. Doing well. The What's Next podcast is just that. We're telling our own stories, trying to encourage everybody to just do that. Tell your story, because that's where people learn. That's where they grow, and they learn from their mistakes, hopefully. And hopefully we can just help you on that journey. So, Mike and I have known our guest here I'm proud to say, for quite a while now. And I'll let you do the intro.
Yeah, actually, it has been. I don't know how long it's been. We'll get to
and
that.
Don't say too long, Cavell.
Definitely not yet.
Yeah. Brian and I, when we sat down, we wanted to put this podcast together, and it was to, like I said, to share stories, stories that connect us all in certain ways. And when we met, and I'm going to say your name, Cavell Johnson, our good friend Cavell Johnson, Cavell Johnson.
That's right. Yes.
Cavell shared his story with us from his journey, which we're going to get into tonight. And it was one of those things where Brian and I said right from the get-go, there's so many people that we're having on the show or have been on already, which you will get to see as this podcast heads on its own journey here, that everybody's story connects us somewhere. And once you tell that story, it starts your own healing, and hopefully it helps somebody else that is in a position that says, you know what, that's me too. And as we talked in our first podcast there, Brian, and thanks to all those that listened to the first podcast, we've had some great comments, but we realized that, Cavell, we definitely had to have you on this show. You, not just, I don't know, because our passion for all of us for basketball, and I think that's where it started. Both of us had this passion for basketball when I saw you as in the position you were in, which again we'll get to. I just love to leave that teaser out there. It was an immediate friendship, and it was pretty cool. And so yeah, let's start a bit about Cavell. I think the first place we met was here. You were coaching in Kitchener,
yes,
basketball. But I want to go back because. Thank God you're sitting on that chair that's six inches lower than Brian's and mine, because you're still looking
Mine's
down
at the top, Cavell's is at the bottom.
But first time I met you, I went, wow, he is one tall dude, man.
I remember when we first met, and we're doing some promo stuff for Frontline, and we're taking some pictures, and I just said, man, I got to stop taking pictures with you. I said, I look like a freaking hobbit standing beside you. So it's like, yeah. But it's, as Mike was saying, we went through the list of people that we wanted to have on the show. And we're reaching out to our listeners and saying, hey, if you want to be on, if you think your stories are worthy, and all stories are worthy, bring it in. But I'll tell you, Mike and I almost synergistically, when we're going through the list, your name was up at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you got a big story, man.
Thank you guys for even considering me. First of all, thank you for having me here. But thank you for considering to have me here to continue to share the energy that I want to share with the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right there, that was it. That was the show right there. The energy to show, because that's the same thing, Brian. I've always talked about that our passion is to inspire others to find their inner self and find that gift, because we all have a gift, and the last thing you want to do is leave this planet without sharing your gift or sharing your song. And we've watched the journey just while you've been in here in our community, and then to sit down and hear from where you started. So let's go back. I mean. There's no doubt you were a basketball player. Where did your basketball career start?
3 weeks old in the crib.
Wow.
There you go.
I have a picture to this day of me sleep at 3 weeks old on my belly, and my dad put one of those little orange rubber basketballs under my hand while I was sleeping. So that's when it started, and it was destiny from there. But so I grew up in a small town in Southern Virginia. You guys know the story. Yeah. Farm town. And my dad played basketball, and he pushed my brothers and I towards sports to try a sport. because he knew that it would teach you things about life along the way.
Disciplines, yeah.
Yeah, I fell in love with soccer. Soccer was my first sport,
Wow.
and then my dad continued to encourage me with basketball, and fell in love with that as well. High school, grade 10, I was introduced to a very difficult decision. A private school about 4.5 hours away from my family recruited me and wanted me to come play basketball there on a scholarship.
Yeah.
Which required me to leave home and go live with my coach and 4 other teammates.
Wow.
So I got an introduction to university when I was 16 years old, the university lifestyle.
Lifestyle. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was their stories. Definitely stories.
That'll be podcast number 2. Right
Yeah,
on.
so I made the difficult decision that summer when I was 16 to leave home and go finish high school because I wanted to pursue a future in basketball.
Right.
And it was about a month-long process of going back and forth, talking with my parents, and having those conversations that they empowered me to make this decision for myself instead of telling me what I should do or what they think I should do. They helped me be more informed on the decision that I was making, and I made that decision.
So you had a solid family life?
Yeah. I mean,
cool.
it's the ups and downs that
but
people experience. I had both of my parents, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But I saw the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And the ugly
exactly.
with all of that.
Yeah. How many brothers?
2.
2.
I'm the oldest of 3.
Right on.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, you said brothers are that. Okay. See, we're learning about you. I'm learning more about you all the time. So that's cool. Great family roots. I mean, they were, again, encourage you to make the decision. Is this where you wanted to go? And you had to decide that on your own. And what a big step.
Yeah, big step. A lot of homesick nights the first couple months, but I lived with my teammates, 4 of my teammates, so it made it easier, a better transition for me. Then after high school was over, I got recruited by a number of universities, Division I universities in the States. And I went to a university in Virginia as well, James Madison University. Transferred out of there after 2.5 years and went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, also known as UMBC.
Yep.
Anybody who follows the NCAA, they were the Cinderella team, the 16 seed that upset number 1 Virginia several years ago. But the first time the school made it to the NCAA tournament in school history was my senior year.
Nice.
We played Georgetown as a 16 seed.
Ooh.
Yeah,
we drew Georgetown.
and we lost. But it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Great experience. And throughout that time, from when I was about 14 or 15, all the way through where I am now, what I wanted to do with basketball, I knew it at an early age. I didn't aspire to play in the NBA. That wasn't my goal. I wanted to use basketball to travel the world. And then when I started learning myself and learning things about myself, I decided I want to use basketball to travel the world and impact lives. And where I am,
How old were you at that time?
when I decided that,
Yeah.
I was 17, I think, 16 or going on 17.
Starting to get a man crush now. Like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Well, I was working. My high school did basketball camps for ages 5 through 14, 15. And I stayed up there with my coach during the summer. And then my parents ended up moving up. So I stayed around to work with these kids and help them develop the skill of a sport that I'd been so passionate about.
Yeah.
And I felt what that felt like and the energy that gave back to
exactly.
me. And it also helped me sharpen my skills as a basketball player.
Yeah.
I learned more through teaching than I did through trying to learn. And that it slowed down what you see, how you see things. It slowed everything down when you teach it because you have to teach it
100%.
in a methodical way.
Yeah.
So what I got from that pushed me to want to travel the world and do this around the world.
Wow. So now you're through college. You've had your big hurrah. You got to play in the big tournament. That's got to be cool. I mean, it's always look back at that and think, holy mackerel, good for you. I mean, you know me, I'm just a friggin' diehard basketball player. I love my NCAA, and Okay, I touched the guy that went to the show. This is Georgetown. They got their ass kicked, but that's okay. So from there now, okay, what's happening? I mean, did you go travel over to Europe to play basketball?
Yeah. So
you say that's the next step, right?
Yep. After I finished my eligibility, I stayed and was a volunteer assistant at my university for a next full school year, so that I could take my one last class to graduate and get my degree. And then after that year was over, I got my first job overseas in Portugal. That's where I started. Was there for a very short period of time and came back for the relationship that I was in at the time.
Okay, another podcast. Anyway, go ahead.
Another one altogether.
Let's talk about relationships, long distance relationships and relationships. Anyway, go ahead.
So I came back and I stepped away from the game.
Wow.
Yeah, I moved back home to Virginia, and then moved out to the Midwest in Nebraska, and I was in the working world. I was a manager at Target. I was an HR supervisor at Home Depot. I was worked at a trucking company.
Wow. Okay.
Then I landed in software IT sales to government agencies back in Northern Virginia, and this whole time, I'm playing softball, soccer, flag football, basketball, like feeding myself this sport that I need.
The competitiveness in you. Yeah.
And I never actively pursued going back to basketball, but I always told myself, if it crossed my path somehow, some way, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And nobody or nothing is going to get in the way. So in 2012, a former university teammate of mine had gotten a head coaching job here in Canada, and he called me and asked me if I was still considering playing, if I wanted to get back into it, and invited me to training camp.
Yeah.
So I took a night to think about it, and I told him the next day, I'm going to do it. Gave my 2 weeks notice. Everybody at my job was very supportive of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, be honest. Did you even know where Canada was?
I knew where it was,
yeah.
But I also, thought the cops rode moose up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Polar bears and moose and
Tim Hortons coffee.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Tim Hortons. I knew that there was, or I thought there was no crime at all.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know how huge and expansive it was, regardless of what I learned about in school.
Yeah.
I knew where it was though.
All right.
North.
Up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I came to play. I played here in Canada, out in St. John, New Brunswick for a year.
Yeah.
And then after that season, moved out to Orangeville for an expansion team in our league that played out of Brampton, the Brampton A's. Played there for 2 years, then I went overseas. Started in Finland, left Finland and went to Budapest, Hungary.
Wow.
And left Budapest, Hungary, came home for a week and a half, went to China, left China, came home for 5 days, and went to Greece.
Wow.
Yeah,
I can just imagine you in China.
It was a great experience.
Bunch of minions all walking around going.
No, I've heard nothing but great experiences for basketball in China. Yeah. They've got a heck of a program over there.
Oh yeah,
They said it's incredible.
The fan support is amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. I mean, we're getting off buses in different cities, and people are handing their 2-month-old babies to take pictures with us. It was a great experience. I loved it, and the culture in every country that I played in was absolutely amazing.
Nice.
And I want to immerse myself because I wanted to use this sport to travel the world. So I immerse myself in these cities and communities, and then I go out and I find a group of kids and go play some ball with them. Work.
Well, this is exactly what I was thinking, because you said at 17 you wanted to do around the world to make an impact, and then all of a sudden that was all kind of taken away. And now you put yourself back into that. And I'm thinking that's so cool because you traveled all over and got to do that.
Got to do it.
And I don't think there's that. I don't think you're done yet.
Oh, no. And that's what I was going to say. And then I land here. After I left Greece, I came to KW.
Yeah.
And this region has embraced me from the beginning. Yeah. Not only did it embrace us as an entire new sports organization here, but everywhere I went, I was meeting and introduced to nice, wholesome, great energy people.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do whatever I could to stay in this community and keep giving that energy back into the community. Yeah. Obviously starting with the youth of our community because they need to see and feel that love as well.
100%.
And
Oh, yeah.
through the different circumstances that they go through that we don't know anything about.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that goes back to, the stories. I mean, people just want to, be in a community where they feel supported and everything else. And that's, I've watched you do that in this community. It's just been so friggin' amazing. It's crazy. It's, I love you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there he is. He's in Canada. Finally, we got him. We finally got the story into Canada. He knows where it is now. He thinks we're great people. Brian, still warming up to you, just like I am. But that's okay.
That's okay.
Anyway,
Perfectly okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I come from a sports background here with hockey and softball, and I think it's one of the greatest things, being able to play a sport. Compete at a fairly high level or at the ultimate level, but what it teaches you as a person. And it's pretty cool to hear your story that, just how that taught you transition all those thoughts and feelings and experiences into, let's call it the real world, into the everyday jobs that everybody's doing, and then have transitioned back to it. So it's pretty cool, the transition. And, as Mike said, you took over the position with the Titans. Yeah. It's awesome. I got introduced to you through Mike, and then we just nurtured that relationship with the Titans. And I'll tell you, for people that haven't been to a game, get up off your ass and get to a game, because I'll tell you, it's exciting.
It's a great atmosphere.
It's
an amazing.
It's a great game. It's a great game, and it's a Canadian game. But I mean, to get to that, he was, and I don't know if he can hear us or not, but he was the best dressed freaking coach
he was
in the league.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, the guy had suits like holy mackerel. He must have been sponsored by Chandler's or something. That's a shout out to you guys. You owe for this podcast anyway. But yeah, it was brilliant watching you coach. I want to go back though, because I mean, like I said, we always talk about our stories and where we started and where we are, and I know where you are now, and we'll get into that. But so you left at such a young age. Mom and Dad encouraged you to go, and then overseas and everything else. I mean, we look at it and, we're with our family for such a short time, but yet we still there's still that tight bond no matter what. So how often do you get to see family now?
Not as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
Especially during the whole last
2 years,
2.5 years. Yeah. It was a lot more challenging. But I try to get home as much as I can. Yeah. And that's another thing that it's really started to weigh on me more, that I don't get to spend as much time with my family, because we're a really tight, close-knit family. And everybody's getting older. Yeah. I was home in May. My mom's father passed away, my last living grandparent.
Oh, wow.
And it was a difficult eye-opener to be there and to be around my family, and under those circumstances is always difficult. But then to know that in 2 days, 3 days, I'm going away again, leaving again. But I mean, that's the life of growing up in adulthood and moving on and moving forward in your own life. Yeah. But it doesn't make it hurt any less or make it any less painful to deal with when you're away.
It's great though, you still have that connection. I mean, because that's the sad part for so many, is that they don't have that connection, right? And and it's great that you came up from some solid roots, and because I can see it now. And again, with your surroundings now with Melissa and the kids, I mean, it's just so friggin', it's so great to see that incredible bond that you guys have.
Giving me chills, man.
You guys give me chills. I mean, it's just so cool. Even the dog fits in. So yeah, you can check this out later. We'll leave a link how you can check out the family pictures and everything else. But it's really neat that you could see how much love family means to you. Absolutely. And that's where I wanted to go. Because I mean, as much as we're away as far, like I'm very blessed. My mom is 5 minutes from my house. And we've always been that close. And you've been the same with your parents. And it's, but to be pulled away like that, but to still have that connection back home. And how about with the rest of the family? I mean, so your mom and dad both doing well, or?
They're doing okay.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, or ironically enough, my mom's in the hospital right now. She's getting a bypass on an artery in her leg.
Okay.
Some hereditary blood clotting issues that she's been dealing with the past few years.
Right.
And that makes it hard to be away from home as well. I try to be the rock for my family.
Yeah.
And I've been shaken several times in the last few years.
Yeah.
And but I still try to stay firm and keep everybody calm, even from a distance as I'm up here.
Sometimes that's better though. I mean, if I guess
sometimes
yeah,
it is, but it's still difficult because I want to be there with her, for her, and for my dad as well, because that's his rock. She's his rock, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to be away at times like this. And I asked her, "You want me to come home? Do you need me to come home?" And she's like, "Cavell, calm down. You don't need to be here. It's a small procedure. It's a small vessel." And then she slips up and tells me this morning or yesterday morning that it's an artery. And I'm like, she's lying to me to keep me calm, but lying to herself to keep herself calm as well. So it's difficult.
And I think that's maybe why I said the distance sometimes, because they don't want you to know everything, and they don't want you to worry and everything else, and we're okay. So anyway, prayers out to Mama Jay. Get well.
Thank you.
But so we wanted to talk about family.
Yeah, and you know what, Cavell, I know you're uncomfortable talking about this, and that's cool. And you'll share with everybody here what you want to share. But I mean, I think it's a topic that needs to be talked about. It needs to be out there. The situation that happened with your brother.
Yes.
And I've heard you talk at many venues and events, and it's pretty chilling for a lot of people. And I think it's near and dear to, unfortunately, to a lot of people. Unfortunately, but if you don't mind,
absolutely. So, like I said before, I'm the oldest of three. My middle brother, Aaron Johnson, passed away in 2017 to suicide.
Right.
And I was the type of big brother that, obviously, brothers are going to fight. Brothers, they're going to be boys, right?
Exactly.
But I was also that type of brother that wanted to look out for my two younger brothers always. Like, even if we fought, I wanted them to get their dinner first, or get the bowl of cereal first, or get their Pop-Tart, the Pop-Tart that they wanted. Like those.
I don't take what's left.
Yeah, exactly. I can remember
there was a method to your madness.
I can remember Christmases that I told my parents to ask me what I want, and I said I don't care anything, but I want Aaron and Sean to have what they want for Christmas.
Very cool.
But on the flip side of that, I was the type of brother that says, "You do what I tell you to do because I told you to do it. Don't ask questions. I just been there. Just do it."
Yeah.
And I think at a period in our young adulthood, that created a little bit of separation between us. Not anything drastic, but from understanding one another. You think that you understand somebody because you grew up with them your whole lives, but there's effort that has to go into truly understanding and connecting with someone, regardless of if you've known them your entire life from their first day of birth.
Yeah.
And
that's a great statement.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's something that I learned from Aaron's passing.
Okay.
Aaron was the life of the party, always smiling, always wanting to make somebody else smile and enjoy their time. And the things that I knew about Aaron's struggle, that he battled a little bit with some depression, and trying to figure out the direction that he wanted his life to go for him, his wife, and then their children, his family. I figured it's just the ups and downs of growing up.
Yep.
And you choose to grow up and you choose to move forward, or you don't. And then when I found out or processed through him passing away from suicide, it shifted the way that I think about life and experiencing this journey of life. It slowed me down to want to spend more time with individuals, not just passing time, but truly getting to connect with energies and spirits, so that if there's something I can do along this journey to help lift that spirit or to help shift that energy in a positive way, I can do it. If I'm just floating through interactions, you don't have that opportunity for someone to touch your heart or for you yourself to touch someone else's heart. So it slowed me down to start engaging in the energies and the conversations. First of all, the energies that resonate. Because if you slow down and you start paying attention, then some of those interactions, they're just going to go away or not mean anything for not being there anyway. So then you start focusing on the energy that resonates with your spirit. So, and then when I focus on that energy, I don't listen, or when I sit with that energy and communicate or converse, I don't listen to respond to that individual anymore, or to impart my opinion or my thoughts on it right away. I listen to understand. And when we try to understand what we're going through or what we're around, we get to experience more fully what we subject ourselves to. And if we choose to experience more fully, then we get to engage in a meaningful relationship. And then that energy is reciprocated both ways. And if it's not, then you know that you feel okay with walking away from that or moving in a different direction from that. And I just want to live a life that the people that I love know that I love them. I make sure I tell them when I see it. And if it's uncomfortable, people are going to get comfortable with it, because I'm not going to stop saying I love you when I leave you, and I'm not going to stop hugging you. Like if we're huggers, if you're a hugger, if you say you don't want to hug, then I'm going to respect that. But I want to give and feed that energy, because it's amazing.
Oh, it's 100%.
And then when you get it, and this is another thing that I was saying about this community, when you start to feel that overwhelming support and love poured over you over and over, you only want to keep doing that for other people. And that's why and that's why I'm so obsessed with this community, because that's what it's been. And it also came during the most difficult time in my life. Like losing Aaron was the most difficult time of my life. Ever. Most difficult experience, hands down. And to be surrounded by love and support through all of that, I just want to use that tragedy of losing Aaron and let his legacy live on, because he was the person that wanted someone to feel love. He would give the shirt off his back to a stranger without even thinking about it. He wouldn't take shit from anybody either, but he would give the shirt off of his back. And I got closer to him through his physical absence. And it's taken me a while to get to a place to appreciate that, because our worldly beings, I want to hug my brother. I want to punch him again. I want him to get on my nerves, like right here in front of my face, and then laugh about it. But again, I've tried to slow down and shift the way that I think, the way that I experience this life now, so that I invest good time and good energy, good feeling, positive energy into everyone that I come in contact with, because we never know what someone is going through.
Oh, exactly. Well, 100%. You never know that. And again, we sit in silence, as we've always said. I love the word energy, because I think that's the connection we had right from the get-go.
Exactly.
It wasn't even a word. There was not even a word, because it was just this connection that we had. And it was so powerful. But I want to go back, because you'd said one thing where Aaron it was that personality. He was that big personality. He was that, and so often we hear that big personality, so we just assume, man, they, like Brian, we talked about that in the first podcast. They got it all going on, man. Look at that, and you have no idea sometimes.
Never know
the hurt that's going on inside. And
how'd you get through it initially?
Oh man, initially it was terrible. In a week, I probably lost 15, 20 pounds. I wasn't eating. I didn't understand life.
Did you do the whole blame thing?
I was going to say, did you go through the blame and then the anger and everything else?
Because again, ironically enough, Aaron, I guess 4 months before I came to KW, when I was still in Greece, he asked me if he could come stay with me for a little bit, get himself away from some stuff that he was struggling with, and get in a better mindset. And at the time, I was going through some stuff in the relationship that I was in, and I was like, let me figure my stuff out. And then I came to KW, and then we revisited the conversation. I was like, I need to get acclimated and figure out my stuff. And then 2 months go by, 3 months go by, and then he passed away. So I carried a lot of guilt because he reached out to me. And but then through some of the counseling that I've gone through and some of the support groups that I've sat in with, it didn't mean that if I had him come up here that I would have reached him the way that I would have hoped to reach him to keep this from happening.
Yeah.
And so I had to really train myself to let go of that. And that's pretty selfish of me as well, to think that, I could have done something to stop it, or it could have been on me. That's the big brother in me, but I don't want to be selfish either to say that I understand and know exactly what he was going through and that I could have stopped it. And I'm not through it yet. I'm not over it yet. It's a daily commitment to continuing the relationship.
Yeah.
I talk to him every day.
I love that. And I think for anybody that's listening, that, as we say, it's always our stories connect somebody. I think that's a big part right there, that every day you still talk to them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so important. You have to. I mean, it's that's one of those things that, like, everything you said was it's so good. So good.
It's, unfortunately, I've lost way too many. I've lost 8 friends now to suicide. Some of them were work colleagues. A couple of them were just personal friends. And, why I asked that difficult question at the start, because, I had 3 of my friends that called me the morning of. It's not that they called me to stop them. Mm-hmm. It was just part of the daily routine. So that day they just like, I just want to call, make sure that you're okay. And, you and Angie are going to, come up here on the weekend, sort of thing. It was a regular routine thing, so that I had no idea, none whatsoever. But they didn't want you to know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But we that are still here do that whole blame game thing, and like, what if, and could I, and I like your terminology there, thinking like, do you really think that much of yourself that you were going to be the one to stop them? Because I really don't think so. So you can't carry that burden. But I love the fact that you say you talk to him every day. You feel that he's still here. He's here in spirit. He's here with you, and you have those conversations. But it's I think it's a beautiful thing. I really do, and I appreciate you saying that you're not over it yet. No. And I don't think you will be.
No.
Varying degrees of, but
yeah, exactly. So he was, sorry, we're going to go back a little bit. He was married with children?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Tyler, his wife, and Tristan and Brody, his daughter and son. Mm-hmm. We last summer, Melissa and I had Tristan and Brody up here for a couple of weeks.
I was just going to say, awesome. And I was hoping you were still pretty tight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they've already reached out to figure out when they're coming up this year. As soon as they were like getting close to the end of school, they're calling me and messaging me. So when are we coming up this summer? Oh, yeah. And that's going to be something that I'm going to make sure I do.
Yeah, make sure they come in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're not coming up here in January, February. Forget that.
I'm not a good enough skater to teach them how to skate yet.
I believe that. Sorry, that's my inside voice.
No, Cavell, I appreciate you telling people and how you got through it, and I think it comes down to, sure, counseling and support groups are good, good family support, love, and then the acceptance of, I'm not going to carry this burden.
Right.
Yeah, and just be able to move on with that, and still have those conversations every day. That's beautiful, man.
And just
sorry.
And a commitment to continuing his legacy.
Yeah.
I just try to, and because of how thoughtful and loving he was, I try to make sure I give that energy, not just for myself because I love it, but because he loved it as well. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure that I say his name, Aaron Johnson. When I do speaking engagement, I don't just say my brother.
Yeah.
I say his name so that people understand how big of a heart he was.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of what I do now for him and through him.
Well, I'm the biggest one that'll tell you that a legacy is not what you leave behind for somebody; it's what you leave in somebody, and you can tell that he has left that in you.
Absolutely,
and that's the legacy right there. So it's absolutely beautiful. So here we've gone from youthful basketball player traveling the world, want to make a difference, to family struggles and how to deal with that. And so, what's next? What's
More
next
growth.
for Cavell?
More growth, man. I'm committed to growth. The little initiative that I started called Brand, BR4ND, Building Reputations for Nurturing Development. And that's what I want to do. I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to nurture development. And another reason that I'm so committed to working with the youth in our community is because I learn. Like I was saying earlier, I get to learn as I'm teaching them.
Yeah.
I get to learn on how to do not just basketball, because I do skill development, but I spend time on personal development as well, mental development, your own spiritual development.
Yeah.
And as I'm encouraging someone else along that journey within themselves, you can't help but to be looking into a mirror to see what it is that you need to keep working on yourself as well.
Yeah.
And when you hear the same things over and over again, you talk about the same things over and over again, you can't ignore them.
No.
So if you're talking to someone or groups of people about growth, about commitment to development, about making good decisions, about being respectful to others, about being respectful to yourself, and you hear that message over and over and over again in different ways, you start to live that.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I'm so committed to helping others and encouraging others along their journey of development, because selfishly, I get to develop as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. We had that conversation on the way down here tonight. I mean, coaching junior hockey, I mean, and at the basketball at the pro level, I mean, you don't need X's and O's, Dan. Yeah, like these guys know where they're supposed to be. And if they made a mistake, they know they made the mistake.
Right.
The biggest thing is trying to get this up here to go, I mean, to understand those guys and make them a better individual. And in the same breath, you learn so much about yourself. I mean, that's what I think the biggest thing I took away from coaching junior hockey was the fact that I got to learn so much about other individuals, and I became a much better person myself. I became a more understanding person. I became, just that person that the guys could relate to and talk to and feel openly to talk to, because that's who you were. And it was great for me. And I.
How many seasons did you coach the Titans?
So I took over halfway through the 2017-18 season.
Right.
And then full 2018-19 and 2019-20 was the one that got cut short, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Got cut short the last 13
that
games.
COVID thing.
Yeah.
The
unspeakable.
Yeah. That thing. But
So that's awesome.
And then you moved on from the Titans. You got back into the, we'll call
Real
it the
world.
working world, the real world.
Yeah.
Took those skills that you've added to now the development. You've had some big changes in your personal life, and you're back into the working world. Are we going to see you back on the court?
I just started working out again.
All right.
Really? We'll take a look at the camera shot later. He's still stuffed. Look at him. He's lean as can be, son of a bitch. Anyway.
Actually, I've put on 30 pounds since
Really?
COVID shut us down. And
That's just
That's your beard.
That's his beard.
Melissa, that was the beard. 30 pounds of beard. Anyway, so that's cool. So I mean, there's so much going on ahead. I love the fact that you still have this passion to continue to move forward with our youth in this community. And I really, if there's anything we can do as well to help along that, please let us know if we can plug anything through this podcast in a text or something, or love to do that as well. I don't know where else to go. I'd love to have you back on again.
Man, I
down
would do
the
this
road, but
anytime.
Yeah,
Anytime with you guys.
yeah, because I mean, I truly know that there's a lot ahead for Cavell Johnson and your family circle, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
I just love you guys so much, and glad you were here with us today.
Yeah, it'd be it'd be great to hear exactly that your plans with basketball, whether it's
Brian really
back on the
likes
court
to
or
poke
whether
you on this basketball
it's the
thing,
whole
doesn't
thing with the kids. Like maybe that's where the development is now.
I'll be involved in basketball in our community in some way, no matter what.
Yeah.
It's in me, it's of me.
Yeah.
And I see the response from the youth.
Yeah.
And when they're hungry like that, you want to feed that hunger with positivity. And I want to make sure that I do my part in feeding.
I just very excited that you're going to stay part of this community and continue to grow with us in here, and we're just thrilled to have you part of our family. So
Thank you guys for continuing to love, man. Continuing to love me and support me. I really appreciate both of you. We talk about it all the time away from podcasts. So.
There we go.
But I want you to know, and I want everybody who's listening to know how great of men you guys are, and positive men in my life as role models and
Right
examples.
There
Thank
you go.
for that.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, we're run down to time. I'm sure we've gone over time, but I ignore the clock over there altogether. I'm sure Steven's going.
Steven's asleep in the back right now going, all right.
How can you fall asleep listening to this story? Holy mackerel. Anyway, Steven, thank you again for pulling us all together for us in the studio here. And Cavell, thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you guys, man. I love you guys.
I try to shake your hand, but I'll knock all these microphones over.
I will for sure. Like a deer.
And Brian,
Yes,
again,
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Cavell, thank you for being part of it. Thanks for sharing your story. There's lots more to come, but once you get things going here in your personal life, we can talk about the next stuff. And,
What's next, yeah.
And what's next. But again, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us at the What's Next podcast. Stay tuned. Every Friday we go on some channel.
Oh, it's out there somewhere.
It's funny. We talk to Steven and Amanda that handles everything in the background, and Brian and I have no clue what we're doing.
None.
We just tell the stories and get behind the mics, but we really have no freaking clue what we're doing.
That's awesome.
So if you find us somewhere, good for you. If you're listening to us somewhere, even better. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. Fridays we go on different channels with our podcast, and glad to have you with us, Cavell. And that's another one under the belt. So
Here we go.
see ya. Peace.
See you guys.
We're out of here.